Have you ever caught yourself wondering why on Earth the absolute smartest species on the planet still makes inexplicably irrational decisions? Well, dear book lovers, welcome to another insight-packed book summary explainer from SummaryPedia. We're here to bring you more titles in less time. So why exactly do the smartest creatures on Earth still do crazy things? It's a huge paradox, right? If you're a student, a professional, or really just an avid observer of human nature trying to figure out those invisible forces driving our behavior, you are going to get a ton out of today's explainer. We're incredibly intelligent, sure, yet we're constantly tripping over our own irrational biases, bizarre misunderstandings, and totally unnecessary conflicts. In this explainer, we are going to explore the important and highly practical lessons from the book The Social Animal by Elliot Aronson and Joshua Aronson. Honestly, this text is an absolute must-read foundational guide for anyone who wants to truly unlock the hidden, quirky mechanisms of the human mind. Okay, here's our quick agenda for today. First, we'll unpack the human paradox. Then we'll dive into Aronson's first law, explore some core cognitive frameworks, look at real-world applications, and finally, check out the brilliant authors before wrapping everything up. Let's get right into it. Part 1. The Human Paradox. Think about this wild contrast. We are this incredibly highly adaptive species, right? Yet we are prone to the exact same mental biases that gave us both the medieval chamber pot, literally tossing waste out of windows onto the street, and modern-day science denial. It's fascinating. You see, our brains evolved to help us survive in these small, tight-knit hunter-gatherer groups. But those exact same ancient predispositions, they can get us into deep, deep trouble in our highly complex modern world. Moving on to Section 2, Aronson's First Law. This brings us to a wonderfully counterintuitive concept from the book. People who do crazy things are not necessarily crazy. It sounds simple, but Aronson brilliantly illustrates that before we go around labeling someone as abnormal or totally irrational, we absolutely have to pause and look at the social pressures driving their behavior. Context is just incredibly powerful. It literally pushes huge numbers of perfectly sensible people to act in ways that seem completely inexplicable from the outside looking in. Section 3, Core Frameworks. Let's explore the big three pillars of psychology in action: cognition, conformity, and justification. Okay, first up, we have social cognition. This is all about how we think about the social world and make decisions. Basically, our brains are fundamentally hardwired to be social. Because of that, we are constantly, and I mean constantly, making up stories, projecting human intentions onto random things, and even spawning human faces in totally inanimate objects. You know, like people claiming they see Mother Teresa's face in a cinnamon bun. We just can't help ourselves. It's like that classic Steinberg concept where a man has a literal rabbit running around inside his head. It perfectly captures how our brain's default mode network operates. Think about it. When you're spacing out or off task, where does your mind naturally wander? It almost always drifts right back to social thoughts, office gossip, and internal narratives. We essentially have this little social rabbit running around in our heads 24/7. And that leads directly into our next core framework, conformity. We are constantly living in this massive state of tension. On one hand, we desperately want to be unique, independent individuals. But on the other hand, we have this deep evolutionary urge to be cooperative team players who just conform to the group. It's a real tug of war. This urge to conform is so deeply ingrained in us that it actually separates humans from other highly intelligent social animals. Get this, experiments show that human toddlers will actually adopt a completely inefficient, bad rule just to fit in with their peers. Meanwhile, chimpanzees and orangutans, no way, they won't do it. They stick to whatever gets them the treat the fastest. So we are often totally willing to walk right off the proverbial edge simply because the guy in front of us did it. Finally, we hit the framework of self-justification. This is our deeply human tendency to twist things or adopt bizarre beliefs just so we can see ourselves as good, smart, sensible people. It completely explains why we double down on our mistakes to avoid that uncomfortable feeling of cognitive dissonance. Like the authors point out that right after someone buys a new car, they will actively avoid looking at ads for competing models just to reassure themselves they made the right choice. It's so easy to let the need to justify our actions paint us into an irrational, ultra-defensive corner. It's almost like literally drawing yourself into a monster just to protect your own ego. It's wild how far we'll go to prove we weren't wrong. Which brings us to Section 4, Real-World Applications. How do we actually use this stuff? One of the most critical things we can do today is to beware the filter bubble. We all know social media algorithms are designed to spoon-feed our existing biases and filter out any challenges to our worldview. But by actively recognizing that these algorithms prey on our innate conformity and our need for self-justification, we can take control. We can intentionally seek out diverse perspectives and basically break ourselves free from our online echo chambers. We can also directly improve our day-to-day relationships by short-circuiting those defensive biases. So next time you make an error, try consciously practicing these 3 steps. First, just acknowledge the mistake non-defensively. Take a breath, own it. Second, ask yourself what you can actually learn from the experience. And third, separate the action from your identity. Doing something foolish one time absolutely does not make you an irrevocably foolish person. All right, Section 5, authors and our recap. Let's take a quick look at the brilliant minds behind this material. The original author, Elliot Aronson, was joined by his son, Joshua Aronson, for this 12th edition. Elliot's perspective is just profoundly impactful. He's actually the only person ever to win all 3 major awards from the American Psychological Association. And as Harvard's Daniel Gilbert so aptly puts it, this remains the single best book ever written about the field of social psychology. It's really that good. To recap our explainer, here is a clean, memorable wrap-up of the key takeaways from the entire book. First, remember that behavior is heavily driven by context. Situational pressures matter way more than we think. Second, our brains are hardwired for social stories, which is honestly both a superpower and a huge vulnerability. Third, actively beware of conformity-driving algorithms. And fourth, make sure to consciously process your cognitive dissonance rather than just getting defensive. Because acknowledging our hardwired cognitive limits, that is the very first step to making smarter, more compassionate decisions. So, we leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you know the invisible forces shaping your mind, how are you going to navigate your social world differently today? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more impactful book summaries from SummaryPedia.